Welcome to the Soul Lens. In this space, we immerse ourselves in a timeless exploration of the human heart, kindness, often found in the most unexpected places. This is An Angel in Disguise by T.S. Arthur. Idleness, vice, and intemperance had done their miserable work, and the dead mother lay cold and still amid her wretched children. She had fallen upon the threshold of her own door in a drunken fit and died in the presence of her frightened little ones. Death touches the spring of our common humanity. This woman had been despised, scoffed at, and angrily denounced by nearly every man, woman, and child in the village. But now, as the fact of her death was passed from lip to lip in subdued tones, pity took the place of anger and sorrow of denunciation. Neighbors went hastily to the old tumble-down hut, in which she had secured little more than a place of shelter from summer heats and winter cold, some with grave clothes for a decent interment of the body, and some with food for the half-starving children, 3 in number. Of these, John, the oldest, a boy of 12, was a stout lad. Kate, between 10 and 11, was bright, active girl. But poor little Maggie, the youngest, was hopelessly diseased. 2 years before, a fall from a window had injured her spine, and she had not been able to leave her bed since. What is to be done with the children? That was the chief question now. The dead mother would go underground and be forever beyond all care or concern of the villagers. But the children must not be left to starve. After considering the matter, Farmer Jones said that he would take John. And Mrs. Ellis, who had been looking out for a bound girl, concluded that it would be charitable in her to make choice of Katie. But no one said, "I'll take Maggie." Pitying glances were cast on her wan and wasted form. The sad eyes and patient face of the little one touched many hearts, and even knocked at them for entrance. But none opened to take her in. "Take her to the poorhouse," said a rough man. "Nobody's going to be bothered with her." "The poorhouse is a sad place for a sick and helpless child," answered one. The day following the day of death was made the day of burial. A few neighbors were at the miserable hovel. Farmer Jones placed John in his wagon and drove away. Mrs. Ellis spoke to Kate with a hurried air, bid your sister goodbye, and drew the tearful children apart. Maggie was alone. Just beyond the threshold, Joe Thompson, the wheelwright, paused. "It's a cruel thing to leave her so," he said to the blacksmith's wife. "Then take her to the poorhouse," she answered, and sprang away. For a little while the man stood with a puzzled air, then he turned back and went into the hovel again. Maggie had raised herself to an upright position. A vague terror had come into her thin white face.
"Oh, Mr. Thompson, don't leave me here all alone."
"No, dear. You shan't be left here alone."
He stooped down over the child, wrapping her with the gentleness almost of a woman in the clean bedclothes. Lifting her in his strong arms, he bore her out into the air and across the field that lay between the hovel and his home. Now, Joe Thompson's wife, Jane, was not a woman of saintly temper. Mrs. Thompson saw him approaching from the window and met him a few paces from the door. "What have you there?" she questioned. Joe did not reply, except by a pleading and cautionary look. He carried Maggie to the small chamber on the first floor and laid her on a bed. Then, stepping back, he stood face to face with his vinegar-tempered wife.
"You haven't brought home that sick brat."
"I think women's hearts are sometimes very hard, Jane."
"Women's hearts are not half so hard as men's."
"Be that as it may, Every woman at the funeral turned her eyes steadily from the sick child's face, and when the cart went off with her dead mother, hurried away and left her alone in that old hut.
Why didn't you let her go to the poorhouse? What did you bring her here for?
She can't walk to the poorhouse. Somebody's arms must carry her, and mine are strong enough for that task.
Then why didn't you keep on? Why did you stop here?
Because I'm not apt to go on fool's errands. The guardians must first be seen, and a permit obtained. Jane, I read in the Bible sometimes and find much said about little children. How the Savior took them up in his arms and blessed them. How he said that whosoever gave them even a cup of cold water should not go unrewarded. It is a small thing for us to keep this motherless little one for a single night.
Look at her kindly, Jane. Speak to her kindly, he said. Mrs. Thompson did not answer, but a soft feeling crept into her heart. She turned towards the little chamber and went quietly in. Joe went his shop and worked until dusky evening. A light shining through the little chamber window attracted his attention. Pausing to look in, he saw Maggie lying on the pillow and Mrs. Thompson sitting by the bed, talking to the child. He saw that Maggie's eyes were intently fixed upon his wife. Her expression was sad and tender, but he saw nothing of bitterness or pain. A weight lifted itself from Joe's heart. Inside, Joe went to the little bedroom. A pair of large, bright eyes looked up at him from the snowy bed. Tenderly, gratefully, pleadingly.
Your name is Maggie?
Yes, sir.
Have you been sick long?
Yes, sir.
Have you any pain?
Sometimes, but not now. It hasn't ached any since I've been on this soft bed. Oh, yes, sir, so good.
Supper is ready. Maggie can wait until we are done. Then I will bring her something to eat.
At the close of the meal, Mrs. Thompson toasted a slice of bread and softened it with milk and butter. She took it into Maggie and held the waiter while the hungry child ate.
Is it good?
She asked.
Oh, yes.
The next morning, Mrs. Thompson said, "We'll keep her a day or two longer. She is so weak and helpless." Joe did not see the guardians that day, nor the next. In fact, he never saw them at all on Maggie's account. For in less than a week, Jane would as soon have thought of leaving her own home as sending Maggie away. What light and blessing did that sick child bring to the home of Joe Thompson? It had been dark and cold for a long time. Now the sweetness of that child, looking to Jane in love and gratitude, was as honey to her soul. As for Joe Thompson, there was not a man in all the neighborhood who drank daily of a more precious wine of life than he. An angel had come into his house, disguised as a sick, helpless child, and filled all its dreary chambers with the sunshine of love. Perhaps an angel has come into your heart as well, disguised in